Hey YouTube, welcome back to another episode of Pokemon with the Thug. Today I got something very special planned for you guys, something I've been wanting to do for a while now. Very different than our usual videos where I'll go over some of my battles and just kind of give you a play-by-play. Today I want to kind of break down some of the strategy involved in being a good Pokemon Generation 2 player. So for those of you that aren't familiar, that's Gold, Silver, and Crystal version. You want to be a master, you want to dominate those games. There's some simple tactics that you have to go over. So today the main thing that we're going to be talking about is sweeping, setting up a sweeper to knock out several Pokemon in a row and win the game. So before we get into sweeping, we got to talk about a good setup. So the good setups that you usually are going to want to do is you're going to want to either bring in a Pokemon that knows Curse and can use Curse when it's in a good matchup, and start increasing its attack and defense and start landing some one-hit KOs. Pokemon that can do Sword Dance is also ideal. However, after a lot of research, it seems like none of the Pokemon that can do Sword Dance have really strong stab moves. So that's the next factor, is knowing a good stab move. Now, stab is when your move is the same type as your Pokemon. If it's the same type as your Pokemon, you do 1.5 times normal damage. So if you have a 90 damage move and it's the same type as you, it's an additional 45 damage. It's a big deal. But if you have a 60 damage stab move, it only is going to come out to be 90, and that's really not that impressive. So a Pokemon that are going to do the typical moves like Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Psychic, Body Slam, Double Edge, Cross Chop, all of those are right around 90 damage. And if you get somebody that can use them stab, their high accuracy, Earthquake's another good one, makes them great threats to sweep an entire team because they do a whole lot of power. So that's why Sword Dance isn't quite as popular in this generation, just because of the fact that there isn't a great Sword Dancer. Now there's one other option, like I said, is a good setup. So in addition to just bringing in somebody that can do Curse and a good matchup, start cursing, you also can do a setup. So you can bring in something that can Baton Pass. You can Baton Pass the Sword Dance, you can Baton Pass Agility, and that way you have one Pokemon dedicated to the stat moves, and your next Pokemon can know even more fighting moves. So that's the first part. And so some typical good setups, I'm going to show you a couple different ones on here. One is Smeargle. Smeargle can do Spore. It can learn any move in the game. Spore being one of the best moves, 100% accuracy, put them to sleep, and then set up and pass it on is a great option. Another good one and popular one to do similar technique is a Jolteon. Is literally the second fastest Pokemon in the game, so just short of Electrode, which is never played. It's going to outspeed everything, and then you're going to be able to easily set up your move and Baton Pass it. Whether it's Growth or a Substitute or Agility, wherever you want to go with that, you can pass on one of those to your sweeper. A third one is Umbreon, who is a pretty underrated pass, which is the Mean Look pass, where you prevent your opponent from being able to switch out, and then you bring in a good counter to set up on. So it's really cool technique that I think is absolutely one of the best in the game, but you don't see it. It's not that popular. I'll show you that too. The next thing I want to talk about are the different kinds of sweepers. So there's a couple. The main two that you're going to see are Snorlax and Machamp. Machamp being very popular with its 85 damage Cross Chop that is stab. So with stab, that's going to be 127 damage. That's a whole lot of power from one of the highest hitting Pokemon in the game. In addition to that, it's got extremely high crit rate. So most likely you're going to get a crit if you hit a couple Pokemon in a row, which usually is overkill with his curse and everything else. But it's just a nice bonus that he's also got a good chance to crit. So a typical Machamp setup is you're always going to see Rest. Rest is pretty popular on almost every Pokemon, especially sweepers. So Rest is 1, Cross Chop being 2, and then if you see Curse, that would be 3, and then usually their last move is either going to be Earthquake or a Fire move. Those two are usually what you're going to see one or the other. Fire moves are great because of the Steel Wall. Some of the people with the highest physical defense in this game are Steel type, which are going to be weak to fire. So Machamp, in my opinion, is probably the weaker of the two threats, especially because Cross Chop only has 8 PP. You only use it 8 times. It's not extremely accurate, so you miss a couple. Even if you set up maxed out attack, it's possible for him not to sweep just because he's going to miss a couple and run out of moves. You set up a reflect, you bring in a tank, and he's going to waste all his cross chops before he can kill the whole team. And that's one of my issues with him. My favorite, and I think is the best sweeper in the game, is Snorlax. You can run Snorlax 3 ways. You can use Double Edge, Curse, Rest, and Sleep Talk, which I think is the best. But the problem is you've only got one physical move, and that's Double Edge. So you bring in a Ghost-type Pokemon like Gengar and Mischievous, and he can't hit you at all. The other option is just to bring in something that's Steel-type. Steel-type resists the normal, and it'll be able to take it easily, which is why the Steel-type Pokemon are some of the most popular. Fortress, Skarmory, and Steelix being the big 3, all of who have insane physical defense and aren't going to get swept by a cursed up Double Edge Snorlax. Now the second option is to go Double Edge, Earthquake, Curse, and Rest. That's a very damaging setup too. The problem is that when it's asleep, when it's rested down, it's got 2 turns for you to either set back up against it or to kill it. So that's a big weakness there, especially because when you use Curse, you lower your speed, and he's already extremely slow, so that every Pokemon you bring in is going to get free hits on him. So he's eventually going to run out of health regardless. So when he rests, then you can finish him off or set up your own sweeper. The third option is to run the Double Edge, Earthquake, Rest, and Sleep Talk set. But that one's not really a sleeper because he's never going to get his attack to 1-hit kill levels. He's just going to do a whole lot of damage and last a while. That's a pretty good Pokemon if you're looking for a Sleep Talker, but he's really not going to threaten to take out an entire team. Because you can get unlucky with all the sleep talks. You can get rest while you're sleep talking, or earthquake and against a flying Pokemon. Or it's a lot more difficult to manage, especially in this generation. That if you rest while you're in sleep talk, it'll last another 2 turns of sleep. So the biggest counters for him are easily to set up a Charm, a Growl against him, bring in a Steel type, especially Skarmory, who can't get hit by an Earthquake, so she's impervious to both of his moves. And then either just reduce his attack down or Whirlwind and roar him out. So those are the easy ways to manage it, but it's a lot more fun if instead of taking my word for it, I'm just going to jump into a couple clips real quick. Sorry for the long introduction. I hope that was fairly informative, but without any more, I'm just going to kind of show you a couple setups. So here's a good one right here against Jolie is no joke. It's a Smurgle setup. So I'm going to come in, take 1 free hit, then I drop Spore. So I know next turn he can't hit me. He's either going to have to switch out or stay asleep. I get Agility off. Now, normally at this point, Agility would make me faster than every Pokemon, and I can Baton Pass without getting hit again. However, he did use Extreme Speed, and I got lucky that I was able to live that. But now I bring in Rhydon, who's a big physical threat. He just has a speed problem. And now with his Stab Earthquake, which as we talked about earlier is going to be 150 power, or a Stab Rock Slide, which is going to be 107, I believe, off the top of my head. Both extremely damaging moves. He's going to do a whole lot of damage to this guy's squad, being the first to attack. So as you can see, I've already put Arcanine, I think, to 2 or 3 health. Hitmonchan's going to go down without being able to do a whole lot. My defense is insane. The only thing that really can threaten me is to bring out a Water-type Pokemon, and I guess he just didn't have one. So that's one of the things that happens, is if they do have a hard counter, then you just keep playing your normal game and try and set up again later. So the next one I'm going to show you real quick is a comeback sweep. Again, we talked about the problems with using a Machamp. This guy just flat out ran out of cross chops, and so as you can see, he took out 4 of my Pokemon here. I'm down to my last 2, but one of them happens to be my sweeper. So he's out of cross chops, so he's not going to do a whole lot to this Snorlax. So I was able to bring him in and curse back up, and until I got to my max range of ×4, and I'll kill that Machamp, and now I'll threaten to kill his whole team. Unfortunately, I'm just too strong that even Miltank, one of the best walls in the game, 1 Growl is not going to be enough, and he's going to go down to 1 hit. Jinx is going to come in. I'm going to make a bad call here and predict him to do the Lovely Kiss. And so I went Sleep Talk, trying to just be pro, but he went just for pure damage, which I don't know if that was the right move or not. It was a little questionable. But either way, that's how it kind of unfolded. I'm going to Sleep Talk, get Curse, so I'm going to make up for the Growl. And then as soon as I wake up, I'm going to go ahead and finish him off as well. So Sleep Talk, Double Edge. He's going to bring in his last Pokemon. It's going to be Kingdra, and Kingdra is going to go down quite simply to one more Double Edge as well. So a reverse sweep took out his last 4 from a 4-2 deficit. And then this one is a good one here too. So this is the third kind of setup. This one I'm going to set up with the Umbreon. I'm going to come in on the Starmie. He's going to start out with the Thunder Wave, which is a pretty safe start, but he wasn't expecting me to mean look turn 1. So the reason why I'm going to mean look here is now he can't trade out his Starmie. So if I bring in something with an insane special defense like a Snorlax, he's not going to be able to do anything at all. Thunder Wave, I see he's got the Thunder Wave, but the problem is that Snorlax can rest that back off. So it's just, I'm going to go ahead and heal up here. I did get unlucky with a couple paralyses. And you see he's using Rapid Spin. He's not going to want to waste all his strong attacks knowing that I can heal him back up. So I'm going to bring in the Snorlax here. I'm going to curse up. Here, I'm actually going to fast forward this a little bit. So as you can see, it takes me a little bit of time, but I'm going to get my curse all the way up. I think at 3, then I'm going to drop one more rest to get myself to nice clean health. So now my Snorlax is doing 3 times his normal damage. He's got incredible physical attack, and he's using a 180 power move with Stab. So it should be enough to one-hit just about anything. The only issue I have is my speed. So Raikou is going to come in, set up a Reflect, and still take 75%. So I know from here I will kill him with the next one, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about Snorlax, just talking about some of their weaknesses, is Snorlax actually doesn't have a lot of defense. A lot of people don't know that. It's only once he's cursed up that his defense is really that impressive. It's his special defense that's really good. So a lot of people don't realize that. So he is going to bring the Machamp in, who's a great counter to Snorlax. Cross Stripes can do a whole lot of damage. But the problem is my defense is already too high, being 3 times its normal value. So with that, he's going to try and curse up himself to try and get into a competitive range here. In my opinion, he cursed up one too many times here, trying to match me. Who knows? I could have been wrong. I did get a critical hit, did 85% of his damage, but it's not going to matter because he would have been in 2-hit range either way. And sure enough, I'm going to finish him off. So he's going to come into his Charizard. I've already swept 3. I could rest. I know he's not going to kill me because, again, my special defense is amazing. And so I'm just going to take the liberty of taking him out right here. I probably could have rested and kept the sweep going, but I wanted to play better safe than sorry and make sure that I took out as many as possible. And I know from a 5 Pokemon to 2, there's most likely I can win instead of trying to risk getting the right sleep talks and him not belly drumming or something crazy and turning the tables on me. So that's why I went for that there. But one of the reasons I want to show you this video is countering the Snorlax. So he's got his in and he's setting up here, and you can see that he crit me. So he did crit me, but he did 85% of my damage. With one more charm, he then did 10% of my damage. So you can easily come in and neutralize him. And the reason why this is better than Roar is because Roar is reduced priorities. You come in with Roar, and he's going to get a free hit on you, which, if he's already cursed up, could be catastrophic. Meanwhile, with Charm, you're going to come in and be the first one to attack, cut his attack by 2 stages, which means that if he's ×2, he's going to go back to being normal. So it actually does twice what Curse does. So Curse goes up 1 stage, Charm brings you down 2. So you actually win that battle. If he keeps trying to Curse, you can Charm him down to nothing, which is one reason why Umbreon is amazing and considered OU in this generation. So I know this is a little atypical. I've done a lot of videos where I'm just showing you kind of my gameplay, but I hope this one you like it. Different kind of look at the game, kind of breaking it down, showing you matchups, showing you strategies, showing you setups, showing you sweepers, and their respective counters here. So I hope you like this. If you like these kind of videos, let me know. Leave a like down below, and I'll upload some more where I talk about the strategy and team building of Generation 2, which can be a little tricky for new players. So thanks for tuning in. I'll have some more Road to Rank videos coming up this week.